Hi, I'm Dave Roberts and this is Angling Escapades. Hello and welcome to Angling Escapades, and once again we're on tour. For those of you who watched before, you'll remember a few months ago I did the on tour in Ireland video. Well, this is another on tour in Ireland. Once again, I've completely manipulated my work schedule, come over, done a couple of jobs, got finished, and I've left myself a day to go fishing. The difference this time is after all the flooding that we've had at home and here, now the sort of river conditions have dropped and I'm able to get on this river Blackwater we're in today, near Fermoy. This is actually part of the Blackwater trout and salmon fishery. They've got lots of water. I've fished here before. I haven't fished this beach before, but I've fished on this river and on their beach before. Got a bit of shout out to the Gillies, father and son team, very famous father and son team. Jason Corcoran and Connie Corcoran. I fished with them last time I came. They both fished with me for the day and guided me. What a wonderful, just a brilliant knowledge of a river and everything I aspire to be. So a big shout out to them because they put me right today. Now where I am at today, the beach I'm at today is called Cable Island, and as you can see up there, there is actually an island in the river. I was fishing hut over there as well, so that's always a good sign. There's a few fish to be caught here. Natural sort of water confluence spreading down either side of the island, creating different flows, which is always good for salmon. Then we've got this beautiful stretch of water and it goes right down, and I've been told to fish this bit here for about a kilometre down that way, so we've got a lot of water to cover and it's a complete unknown. I'm completely fishing blind. You know, it's not water I know, so I'm just going to have to cover it. I'm going to cover it the way I would fish the Y. I'm fishing with spin. I'm going to spin it. It's still a bit high for fly fishing. So I'm spinning it. I've got my normal spinning outfit. I'm going to use the same sort of lure as I'd use on the Y, flying C, except with a treble hook. Thanks for the authorities for banning treble hooks on the Y. Yeah, sort of same, you know, something with a bit of red in it, some colour and a copper blade, something that the fish can see. What I've discovered through talking to Jason and Connie is that on this river it's not so much always about the height, it's more the colour, and that's the same with salmon fishing a lot of places you go, but certainly here. So we've got, you know, we have another little rise in the river, I think yesterday, and it's dropped off again. So the height is perfectly fishable. Colour is still a bit stained, I'd say, is the way to describe it. It's not like the colour we get on the English rivers and the British rivers, where you get that sort of sediment washing in. Here it's more of a peaty colour and it stains the water, and when it's cold I don't think they like it, but we've got a chance. You know, it's not unfishable, it's not perfect, but it's not it's certainly probably the most fishable it's been all year. So yeah, we're going to give it a go. Just another note as well, I mean, we're right in the middle of the coronavirus outbreak. I suppose in reality I probably shouldn't be fishing today. I should have got home as soon as I could. But the reality is no one really knows where we're going to end up with this. There's talk of lockdowns and everyone being on curfews and God knows what. So, you know, I might not be able to do this tomorrow or the day after. So I figure none of us know how bad this is going to get. So I can't see that I'm doing anyone any harm here on the riverbank. And I mean, some of this scenery, look at that, like just in this river valley, just absolutely stunning. So I don't think I'm at any chance of catching any sort of virus out here. And I just figure that, well, you know what, whatever will be, will be. But I might not be able to do this next week, so I'm going to do it while I can. So I'm going to get started. I say it's simply a case of just fishing with the flying sea and just covering the water and just trying to, I call it, it's like mine sweeping, you know, you're just covering because the salmon could be lay up anyway, especially when you don't know the water. It's hard, you know, when you know the lies it's different, you can go straight to the spots where you fancy it. But so just a case of working my way through and let's see if we meet anything along the way. So I'm going to start here. This is where I was told to start. You've got a little bench here. I say you've got the salmon huts over there and the benches here. They're all signs that it's a regularly fished stretch of water, and they're always usually put in good places. So I would expect, you know, a chance, if you're going to catch fish, to have a chance early on in this early part of the stretch. But who knows? Just going to keep on working through, and it's a beautiful day, and we'll give it a go. Well, I've covered probably maybe half a mile of water so far. Not had a sign, not seen a fish. And like I say, it's a bit like minesweeping really. When you don't know the water, you're just trying to cover the whole river really. And this is what salmon fishing's like, you know. It's like, they say it's the fish of a 10,000 casts, or I don't think they do actually. I think that's another fish they talk of. But that's the sort of thing you're dealing with, you know. You've just cast. I'd hate to think how many casts average out for each fish you catch. Thousands, I imagine. But ultimately, if I have one fish today, it'll be an amazing day, and I'll talk about it and remember it forever. So all these casts where I don't catch one, I only need one catch where I do. It changes the whole complex of the day. And I don't know, you know, I don't know whether I'm doing it. I'm fishing the same as I'd fish the Y, which has been very successful for me. And you know, salmon are salmon the world over. I can't imagine they change their habits here. Maybe colour of lure. I'm sticking to this red and black. I don't know. I know they use yellow, and I know they use some smaller lures on here, but I still fancy that if I put it in front of a salmon's nose, it'll take it. It's just about conditions, you know. I say maybe the colour's still a bit deep for them, but I don't know. I'm just going to fish, keep fishing, keep casting, and hopefully I'll put it in front of one's nose at some point. But as I say, I'm not really that bothered. It's just a lovely place to be, a lovely river. Very similar to the Y, actually. Very similar size, similar width. Obviously different bottom and different flow and different water, but the sort of gear we're using on the Y is exactly the same gear on here as well. Just letting that come round in the current. With these flying seas, it's just a case of just letting the current hit it and just keep the blade turning. Sometimes you don't even need to wide the handle because the flow does it for you. But it's that spinning of the blade that sort of agitates salmon into take it. And as I did a little video on it last year, that spinning blade there, that actually makes a lot of water. I'll see if I can find the clip and put it into this video, but that makes a lot of noise, like a clicking noise as it's going round. And quite often it's that attracts a salmon. So we'll keep moving, keep covering the water, and see if we can't come across a fish somewhere. we go. Our first Irish salmon. Get in there. A fabulous fish. Let's get her back. In back. Just give him a moment to rest up. There we go. Yes. Stay to me. Very important though with these salmon, they're such precious creatures. You know, they've been through such a journey to get here. Swam thousands of miles, all in the name of procreation. So I just have utmost respect for them. I don't want to see them die, so trying to unhook them in the water and get them back so they can continue on their journey, hopefully not too upset by the whole experience. Brilliant, that's what we came for. Okay, so I'm just going to have a little break and I'm just going to take you through some of the gear I use for this salmon fishing. Actually, the spinning side of things, it doesn't have to be a terribly expensive game. You choose accordingly to what, you know, how much you're using something or how much you're fishing. If I start with rod and reels, I seem to have a bit of an affinity to Daiwa gear for my salmon spinning. I always use Daiwa rods. This is a Wilderness. This is a 10-foot 2-piece spinning rod. Okay. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a terribly expensive rod. You can buy these for under £100. The reason I don't spend huge amounts on spinning rods is I spend a lot of time, you know, a lot of my salmon fishing, especially my spring fishing, is quick fishing. I'm in and out the van, you know, I'll be sort of popping out it for a couple of hours here and there. So I have the rod ready made up. I don't put it in a case or anything like that. So it's getting, you know, it gets hammered quite a bit really, and, you know, probably not looked after as well as it should. So if I was using a rod that cost me hundreds and hundreds of pounds, then that wouldn't be quite so easy to be like that. So I figure with this, you know, to be honest, this is, you know, these go through some hammer. I never had one break through my mistreatment. However, I feel a bit more comfortable using a rod that's not too expensive, the way I tend to look after it. The reel, on the other hand, this is a Daiwa Coldier, so quite, you know, sort of up in the range of reels. And the reason for that, especially with salmon fishing, is to do with the drag for me. Unfortunately, salmon fishing isn't something where you can use backwine. Backwine just isn't fast enough. The way these salmon run is explosive, and you just would never keep up and you'd get broke, no problem at all. So you have to use a drag, and for that, you know, the Daiwa reels, top end reels, I find have got brilliant drags, and that's just smooth. It's got a real sort of, you know, these little clicks, these little tightens on the clutch, you know, they just have a very minor effect on it just to get it just right. And I find quite often with salmon you're just enjoying playing the fish. So for me, the reel I'll spend a lot more money on, because I know I want it to do a job. I don't want the reel to let me down when I've worked so hard to maybe get that one bite for a day and lose the salmon because the reel lets me down. So that's my choice of rod and reel. Line on the reel, £15 Maxima. Okay, you know, I have switched to other lines. I've always been a Maxima fan, but I have switched to other lines with other parts of my course fishing. But for me, still, salmon fishing, £15 Maxima does the job fine. It's got that durability, you know, hundreds and hundreds of casts in a day. You know, that line's going to take some wear, so you know, I need something I can trust. And sometimes high-tech lines, sometimes just in those moments where, you know, when you're playing a salmon and it's everything's so explosive, little things can happen, and I find that high-tech lines tend to be more prone to sort of, you know, something sudden happening and you know, letting you down. So I stick with what I know with Maxima. Other lines, I know Pro Gold was one that that a lot of guys use, and a lot of guys use braid as well. I just seem to, I just go through line, you know. I like to keep reloading my line after a couple of weeks and just changing it around. So I'm not really into braid and stuff for this sort of fishing. I find, you know, I can cast with that setup. I can cast as far as I want. I can cover the water, and it does a job for me. So again, not too much expense on the line. The lures I spoke a bit about earlier, probably the flying sea has probably accounted for more salmon, certainly on the Y, than any other lure, and certainly over here in Ireland. They vary in different places you go. Some have got smaller spoons on them, some are smaller body. This is actually a 3/4 ounce body, and I've got them up to 1.5 ounces as well for really heavy water. But they really do, the way they react, and I think, as I say, a lot of things, you know, in a lot of fishing, certainly coarse fishing, commercial fishing, we've got used to realising that noise is important. You know, fish, carp in particular, will react to noise, to bait hitting the water, things like that. But I think salmon are exactly the same. I didn't realise this until I put one in the water and put it on camera and heard that noise it makes, that ticking noise as it goes past, and I think that really aggravates the salmon. So these are, let's say, these are my sort of #1 lure for salmon. And unfortunately, they've brought in bylaws now on I think on a lot of rivers, and certainly on the Y, that you can't use treble hooks anymore. You've got to use a single hook. Completely pointless for me. You know, at the end of the day, we've caught salmon today. That salmon was unhooked. It didn't. The 3 hooks didn't damage it. It just made sure that I got it in, and it was fair game. A single hook, I don't see how they hook up the same, and I think we're going to start seeing a lot more lost fish, which is the last thing we want. It's hard enough to catch these fish as it was, and just making it even harder is just going to put people off. Less rods on the bank, less anglers fishing, less salmon caught. So yeah, I don't appreciate the new bylaws, and I think it's I think people need to be careful what they're trying to achieve when they bring these things in. They can put it under fish welfare, but ultimately, does it really make that much of a difference? And is that the problem with salmon stocks? I don't think it is. Anyway, by the by, so that's my rod setup, and I say above the flying sea, have a swivel on the line. Make sure it's a good quality swivel, because these will obviously these are spinning all the time and they're getting a lot of action, so you use top quality swivels, and that's your setup really. There's nothing more complicated than that. I carry with me a bag, obviously, which has got all my bits and pieces in. Put that out of the way. So I've got this, you know, a shoulder bag here which I carry, you know, varying amounts of kit in, but you know, I've got in there a drink. Obviously, you know, you're covering a lot of ground, so you need to travel reasonably light. I've got a wallet there with lots of different lures in. I've got an extra waterproof and some other bits and bobs, but nothing really essential. Obviously those are essential. Forceps for unhooking, those have got to be handy, you know, so as that when you get those fish on the bank, you can unhook them. But basically it's about minimal tackle, keeping everything so it's light. You know, you're going to be traveling a long way a lot of the time, casting lots. You don't need to be weighed down with extra thing. The only other thing I carry is the net. Okay, this is a proper, what you call a guy net, okay, for salmon fishing. There's different types you can get, and these are the real old-fashioned knotted types, but there's other types on the market. But this is a nice, it's got a quick release velcro strap, so when I hook a fish I can get it off and get it landed. Now a lot of people don't carry landing nets when they're salmon fishing. They'll beach them and things like that. But if you're fishing how we're fishing today on a higher river, where some place you've got no chance of getting in the water with a fish, to land a fish would be a nightmare, and you'd put yourself in danger and you put the fish in danger. So I always carry a net. I find, you know, I'm a strong lad. I can carry that bag, that net, and fish all day. No problem at all. You know, maybe I might be casting 500 times in a day, but with that setup, you know, as long as I stop for a drink occasionally, I find I can do it all, and it's mobile, and it's a wonderful way of fishing. You know, you get so bogged down with the match fishing and coarse fishing where we're just carrying, you know, have to use a barrow to carry your stuff, whereas this way I can just pick it up, I can go wander free, and you just see so much of more of the river, and I love it. One thing I haven't talked about today is fly fishing. Fly fishing for salmon is something that I've got into more in recent years, and it's quite a, you know, spey cast, and it's quite an art form, and it's not an easy thing to get right, and I've enjoyed the process of learning to fly fish. But there is a little bit of, I'd say in salmon fishing, there's a little bit of snobbery towards spinning and fly fishing, and fly fishing is for the purists and stuff like that. Luckily, places like this, they don't think like that. Ultimately, if we hadn't have spun today, we wouldn't have caught a fish. There would have been very few pools on this river that would be fly fishable today, and even then you'd need to be top class fly anglers and know what you're doing. So for sort of where I'm sort of not the best fly caster in the world, it would have really cut down my chances of catching a fish. It would have cut down the amount of water we could have fished today. Whereas I was fishing like this with spinners, I've been able to cover a lot of water and I've caught my fish. And there's no lack of skill or hard work involved in catching that fish today. So I don't buy into this theory that it's fly spinning is easy and whatever that. It is easy, but you've still got to put the hours in, and you've still got to put your baits in the right place. So like I say, I love fly fishing, and I'd love if if I come here later on in the year and it's a bit lower, I'd be mainly fly fishing probably. But ultimately, we're here to catch fish, and there's no shame in catching one on a spinner. There you go then. Just tried a different colour spinner over a piece of water I went through earlier, just a yellow and black with a silver body. Sometimes that can spark the interest of a fish that you went over earlier with a different colour. Or maybe it's just psychological, I don't know, but it's worth a try anyway. So there you go, what a wonderful day. First salmon session of the year, and I've caught a salmon on my first outing. First salmon in Ireland. First salmon on this beat, on this fishery for the season, so that's always nice to get one, as we like to say, put them in the book shack. And yeah, so I'm buzzing with that really. Massive thanks to Jason Corcoran, who put me put me on here today. This wasn't the only stretch he could have put me on. They've got loads of water, but his knowledge and of the river and the best, most likely places these fish would be today, he's put me here, and it's proved successful. But it's not been an easy day. I've had one bite, I've had one fish, one strike. I've not seen a fish splash or jump, or not had any other takes or anything, and that's salmon fishing. If you equated that to any other type of fishing, coarse fishing, barbel fishing, you'd think how boring. But it's not. That one fish has just completely made the day. This is a day I'll never forget, and catching a salmon is a very emotional thing for me. I don't know what it is. It takes me back to other times with other people who are no longer here, and every salmon is quite emotional for me. So yeah, I won't forget this day. And I say, if I hadn't caught anything today, I'd have come back and done it again and again and again, and thousands of casts later. But the fact I've had one now is it'll just make me want to come back even sooner. So like I say, massive thanks to Jason and for his help, and we'll be back soon. So yeah, so I've got a ferry to catch now, so I'll get home, and hopefully now we're on the board for the season, so we'll have to perhaps go back and catch them on the Y now. So so thanks for watching, and like I say, if you fancy a bit of this salmon fishing back home on the Y, get in touch, because we've got some of the prime beats on the Y for days, and we'll see you next time.